Justin, we're right again about the importance of people moving slow and paying attention because the agentic world has been shaken by what just happened. Now, the human was in the loop, but on the wrong side.
Of course, we're talking about the recent state-sponsored attack using the Claude agent from Anthropic. And so essentially what the report claims is that a hacking group automated essentially up to 90% of a hacking workflow using Claude code and not really hacking the model, but mainly just using specific prompts throughout across the workflow to drive certain things. Now, what's really interesting about this is, okay, yes, it's been shown how certain innocent prompts across a conversation with any of these models can return some pretty startling, terrifying outputs. But to our knowledge, we haven't really seen anything at this scale yet. And essentially, there's a few points that are kind of terrifying. One, that we're able to use coding agents to hack systems or identify key targets. Two, the fact that out of the many different varied decisions that were made as part of this workflow, it's reported that the group really only had to make 4 to 5, give or take, decisions across the entire scope and be able to carry this out. And then one thing I've heard that's just an interesting note is Anthropic touts itself to be an ethical AI company. We've seen it from the top down and how they communicate, how transparent they are, and the efforts they make to have users use it ethically. So they are actually the ones that identified this was going on. They caught it. They couldn't stop it at the time, but they did start working toward it. Once the attack was over, they actually did their research, found out the scope of the attack, found out the breadth and what was carried out, did their analysis, did their corrective measures, and then actually published a report about it, which I will say is not what we usually expect out of a company like this. They essentially told on themselves. What was really interesting about it, that skeptics are really coming out and is interesting to me, is you could read it to an extent once they talked about the 90% data mark is, yes, this is unfortunate, and we really hope that no one ever does this again, but it's really interesting that they automated 90% of it. Give or take, I mean, depending on how you read it, it could be seen that way. And so it's almost as though, yes, they did a bad thing, but it's kind of impressive at how they did it. I'm not saying that was their intentions. That could be how it came off. Now, what's really terrifying about this is now shown that whereas many state-sponsored or rogue groups, I'm not going to name any, usually take a large number of individuals' time. And now, with AI-enabled cyber warfare tactics, you can, for a fraction of the cost, a fraction of the effort, and a fraction of the time, carry out similar attacks with little resources. So, to be sure, this is going to be something that is going to be attempted time and time again. The interesting thing is even in these situations, you're going to see a much higher demand for AI-enabled cyber security to combat the AI-enabled cyber warfare. And so you're going to see an investment from both legitimate on the cybersecurity side, not so legitimate on the cyber warfare side, and it's essentially going to become more so human in the loop of AI fighting AI. I'm interested to see how this is going to develop, Martin. What about you?
I want to explain it in a little bit simpler terms for those people listening that aren't as up on this as we are. Here's what occurred. They basically, with simple prompts and using the AI agent faculties of the Claude, which is by Anthropic system, were able to hack in to a number of companies without a lot of extra hands on work, get into the level, and then get the level of security where they had access raised to the highest level of access. So it's sort of like they were able to go into these businesses and say, could you give me the master keys? And they got the master keys and then started going around and opening things very quickly. If you're familiar with what prompts are and you're starting to learn a little bit about what AI agents are, these are the two players they used. And they were able, without a lot of advanced work, trick the system into giving them an access that it shouldn't really be providing.
Absolutely.
Anything you'd add to that in the
No,
simpler words?
that was very well, and I really like the key analogy. And one thing that it makes me think of to a degree is like social engineering. And if you're not familiar with the concept of social engineering, it's really a type of attack where rather than the 1990s, I'm in the system kind of cyber attack. You take soft targets like, hey, Martin, I know that you like this. Hey, that's really cool. I'm really interested in that. Could you show me? Like, hey, you've got keys to this. I bet you won't show me where it works. The next thing you know, I have access. Or, hey, Martin, we're at home. Don't worry, I'll lock up. Just hand me your keys. Social engineering, which is between individuals. And so you think of it almost like, when I think of AI to systems or AI to AI, it's like, is that the new evolution where it's have your agent call my agent or have my agent hack your agent? And it's just really interesting that we're moving in that direction to where just a few simple prompts at the right time and the right setting can get you access past these systems that usually took a whole team to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's get to what does this mean to people learning, which we're doing a lot of training. And of course, with our North Carolina commitment to bringing these tools ethically and safely and profitably across North Carolina, what it means is move slowly, understand what you're doing. Don't put anything proprietary in these systems, but keep learning. This is the key. You don't want to run from this. You want to learn it because, Justin, what we've proven and learned is the more you understand how these systems work, the less vulnerable, I almost want to say gullible, vulnerable you are to them. I just met with some friends that I've known for many years. And of course, I don't know if you've seen them, but there's a whole bunch of AIs where people pick up a package and it kind of explodes with glitter or something. And they're all AI generated. And he hasn't been keeping up with this. And he went, I thought all those were real. Well, if you've done any work in understanding even something simple as that, you'd immediately go, oh, look at the what's going on. It's not real. And so this is what we teach, Justin, is education is one of the best defense, front lines of defense, and understanding how to learn these things without making you or your business or your school vulnerable.
Right. And of course, to go along with that, just practice safe habits online. Don't click on the phishing link. Don't visit the equivalent of a dark alley on the internet. Make sure you have two-factor identification set up and use a variety of complex passwords. Don't use the same, Muffin 1988 password at everything that you do. And so just, common sense online practices. And really, sometimes it just takes kind of drawing an analogy to I'm not going to leave my key laying in front of my door and go to work type things. Just common sense, safe, and learn. And you'll really do a lot for yourself in this emerging landscape.
And of course, bring us in for training and one-on-one consulting on these yourself so you get better and watch it. That's what I wanted to cover, Justin. I think we've addressed it. We'll put some links below about our training, but it's worth studying this and understanding it because we're going to keep seeing a back and forth going on, but don't let it stop you from learning and understanding because your best defense is education in this field. This is Martin Brossman
And Dr. Justin Rose.
have a fantastic day.